This morning I'm going to talk about dads, I guess, kind of in a way. Talk about family. Talk about the lion to be the lion king of your pride, which I love watching the big cat shows and to learn about the responsibilities of the big male cat and the female cat and the cubs, and learn about what they do when one comes in and tries to take over the pride, how they kill all the babies of the dad, the pride they just took over. I mean, it's just interesting to learn all that stuff. And you think, well, how did they ever come up with this stuff? It's just instincts, I guess. But the Lion King, which is the male lion, doesn't do the hunting, the female does. Not that the male lion won't help take something down, but his primary requirement and responsibility is the protection of his pride or his family, which is made up of his girl cats and all of his cubs, and he keeps them in line. So when a male lion starts reaching the age of maturity and he's getting a little bit more aggressive, he'll discipline to keep them in line, and if he can't keep them in line that way, he'll kick them out of the pride. So we got all this going on. There's so much we can learn from that that really applies to family. It applies to the responsibility of dads and fathers, and we're going to talk about that this morning. The Lion King of your tribe. Let's read right here our verses. I put 4 of them down here this morning. Proverbs chapter 20, verse 7 says, "A righteous man who walks in his integrity, how blessed are his sons after him." Proverbs 14:26, "In the fear of the Lord there is strong confidence, and his children will have refuge." Ezekiel 22, verse 30, "I searched for a man among them who would build up the wall and stand in the gap before me for the land, so that I would not destroy it, but I found no one." 1 Corinthians 16:13, which kind of sums it all up, Christian life, being a dad, mom. "Be on the alert, stand firm in the faith, act like men, be strong." Now, many today, I think our world, again, right before our very eyes, is evolving and changing even once again. Where it's all going to wind up, we really have no clue, but everything has changed so much, especially with family and what represents a family, what is a family all about, and all of that has changed so much over the last 25 or 30 years. And there would be many people that would say today that the family as we used to know it is old-fashioned, it's obsolete, and the Leave It to Beaver days are over with. And y'all hear Beaver died here a couple weeks ago, didn't he, during the COVID? I did hear that. Did I hear that correctly? Did Beaver die? Believe it. Yeah, he did. See there? I didn't ever get to talk about it. I love some Leave It to Beaver. I mean, that was just about as family as you could get, wasn't it? But many people would say that old family stuff is just old-fashioned. It's out of date. And we just need to evolve and to move on. And even though some people may still support it, they really don't stand for it like they did in days gone by. But the family is God's plan. It is God's product. It is God's God-ordained, and it carries with it the purpose of God, which is really, if you look at it from a big picture, the family is there, God's purpose to make you whole, because you wouldn't be or couldn't be what you needed to be without family. You couldn't be happy, you couldn't be blessed, and fulfilled. There would always be something missing, and a lot of adults struggle in adult life because they didn't have that wholesome family that reinforced them, that made them feel safe growing up, and they have a lot of struggles that they bring with them into adulthood. So family carries with it the purpose of God to be able to bring that into our lives, for us to be able to feel valued and to feel loved and to feel supported, and all of those things that money can't buy is what you're supposed to find inside of a God-ordained family. So it's God's product, and the family produces life. It produces life now. It produces life tomorrow. It produces life for the next generation to come, and also for the generation after that. The Bible says in the book of Deuteronomy that when you get your family lined up with God and you get your life right with God, that it'll go well with you, it'll go well with your children, and it will go well with your children's children. So we're going to talk some this morning about the family, and it's amazing really too how God ordained it for you and me really to get something from both of our parents. It's not that you can't be raised by a single father or a single mom. You can, and turn out great. But both of them inside of a family that God ordained give you something in life that helps you to be whole and complete and to be blessed. I know my dad, he would be the rock of our family. He would be my hero, and probably the hero of all 38 inside of our little circle. He's the Lion King. He's the ultimate Lion King. Even though we are Lion Kings over our smaller pride, he's been the Lion King over our entire family, and spiritual leader, provider, giver, not a selfish bone in his body, will give you anything. He's a man of his word. If he tells you something, you can take it to the bank. Always early, never late. And now today I get crucified for that. I'm just like him. He put that mark on me. But my mom also, she's the heart of our family. She's the lover inside of our family. My dad is an old model dad, provider, protector. Even though he loves a little bit more than he did, but he told Mama, I told you I loved you when I married you. If I changed my mind, I'll let you know. That's just over. I gave you my word. What more could you ask for? And I just love their humor amongst each other. But my mom's heart of family. So I got a little bit of my mom and a little bit of my dad. I'm a whole lot more expressive than my dad is when it comes to love. I'm like my mom when it comes to that. I look like my dad, I guess, but I don't. But my mom is a supporter. She's kind, like my mom. She's kind, sweet, loyal. She's the best listener ever. Now, I don't get that from my mom. I don't like to listen. But she always told us growing up, she'll tell everybody, I might not know what to say, but I'm a good listener. In other words, what she was saying is you can talk to me. I won't judge you. I won't put you down. I won't tell you what to do. I'll just listen. And you know what? There's so many people in the world today that really don't want you to tell them anything. They just want somebody that will listen to them. And when people can express and talk and somebody listens, it just makes them feel better. And to top it all off, she's a great cook. And nobody in our family, I don't know, she didn't teach her daughters well, Shane's exception, but nobody can cook like Momo. She's a great cook. But they did it right, and you know what? They're still doing it right. And my dad has been a Lion King of his family for over 50 years, and there's 38 of us inside that nucleus, and that just blows my mind. because I look at like Jesse's family. I know there was only 2 girls, but only 2 girls, and there's 10 or 11. And then with Paw, he had 3 kids, and now it's all the way up to 38. It just blows my mind. There's a few of the kids that haven't even gotten married yet. But I just love, and I don't know how much longer to go on for us to get together that once a year on our vacation. That's all attributed to my mom and my dad. And believe it or not, all 38 of us can live together in the same house the same week and really never argue with one another. It's really just a good, smooth, awesome week that's all about the kids and just sitting back and relaxing. And it's just wonderful to see. The fruit don't lie. And that right there, what anybody sees with our family, with our 38 getting together, we're not perfect by no means. But that's all on the shoulders of my mom and my dad. That would not be here today, even if it was 38, if it wasn't for my dad being the Lion King and my mom being the lover and supporter and being there. It's because of them lining up with God that it has went well with them and their children and their children's children. And you know what? The family is one of those things to where you don't get to see all the fruit today. You got to put your nose to the grindstone and go, 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 go. And then hopefully one day you're going to look back and you're going to see, wow, it did make a difference in my children's lives and in my grandchildren's lives. But the family is there to love together. The family is there to laugh together, to cry together. I mean, can you imagine not having a family to cry with? You know, I even wonder with the church family sometimes, when people have tragedy in their lives, it's so sad to think that there's not a local family that they're not a part of that will gather around with them and cry with them and pray with them. Because sometimes we just need others to cry with us and to celebrate with us and to hurt with us. But the family's there. It's God's plan. It's God's product. It's God's purpose. And when we do it His way, He promises blessing. Number 1, y'all with me? I hope I don't lose you. Number 1, the lion and his Lord. That's where it all starts. It's the lion and his Lord. There's life-changing, life-breathing power from the life of a dad who loves God and follows God into his family. Now, there's no doubt. I mean, if you take me, for instance, I'm passive on a lot of things. Jessie will tell you. She'll text me, ask me about something, and it's, your wish, honey, is my desire. Whatever. I'm passive on a lot of those issues. Now, I wouldn't be passive if she texted me and said, hey, I think we don't need to go to church anymore. I don't think we need to follow God anymore. I don't think that we need to honor Him. I wouldn't be passive on that. See, and a man can't be passive spiritually, even if your woman that you're married to can teach and you don't teach, or she can speak in public and you don't. God has still ordained you as the spiritual priest. So inside of your home, your family, you are the Lion King. You set the agenda. You're the one that chooses and says that we're going to be all in. And we're going to be all in for God. And we're going to be all in all the way. And we're going to be all in all the way all the time. It's just like the disciples when they met Jesus. 3 of them there, when they came off the boats, it says they dropped their nets and they followed Him. And they literally followed Him. They were all in all the way. So if you and I want to create a phenomenal family, it's only going to happen one way. You got to make the choices to get there. It's something that just doesn't happen by chance. It's like, I know you don't have to tell me. You know, I have people that even like try to say it in an encouraging way. Jeff, it looks like you're bulking up there. Looks like you're getting, like you've been working out. No, I've been eating too much. That's what happens. When I eat too much, I bulk up. It's all here, up. It bulk up. And it looks like I've been taking some steroids. I know I need to lose some weight, but you know what? Losing some weight doesn't happen by chance. Happens by choice. So it's the same way in the spiritual realm. Nothing, you're going to accomplish not any of your goals ever if there's not a determined plan, a vision that is going to be set right in front of you, and you're going to make the choices to be able to get you from point A to point B. Now I want you to think about, now this is something we can do, men and women. I want you to look at your life as a whole. And let's just say you had to write, first of all, just think what drives you and what defines you today. When you look at your life as a whole, just ask yourself that question first of all. What drives you? What defines you? In other words, what excites you? What are you eager to just get out there and just do? What do you love above everything else? Because whatever drives you and whatever defines you creates a rhythm in your life. It's either a good rhythm or a bad rhythm, but it's a rhythm. It creates a rhythm in your life, a personality in your life. It creates a climate in your life. And whatever is driving you and whatever is defining you is motivating your actions and motivating your choices and motivating your attitude. And what's coming out of that is reflecting whatever it is that you believe in, whatever it is that you hold dear, your values. So it's either healthy or it can be hazardous. So think about it. What is the rhythm of your family? What is driving it? When just like are your children or your grandchildren, when they're in that climate, when they're in that environment, when they see you just living normal life, what kind of effect is it having on them? Is it bringing a good rhythm that is producing something healthy in their life? I know my daughter, haven't been able to talk about it, but they went through all of the classes, Whitney out in Texas, to be able to be foster parents. And they've already fostered one kid. And now this past week, she just got 2 more kids. She got a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. 4 months old, a 3-year-old and a 4-month-old. And she can't put their pictures on Facebook, so you might can see the backside of them or something in a way, but I don't think she's allowed to be able to put their faces on there. But I love that they're being foster parents. I'm not cut out to be a foster parent because I would get too close and too connected. But I love more than that of the reason and the drive of why she felt like God wanted her to be a foster parent. Is because when she was almost out of my nest, 17 years old, 16, 17 years old, we adopted Megan. And she saw the impact of how a life could be changed through a family that would just choose to love a child and take a child in. And she says that is the roots of why they wanted to be foster parents, is because they wanted to take kids out there that were struggling and having a difficult time environment-wise and not having a whole lot of stability, and to be able to give them love and to be able to give them support. I thank God for foster parents. But you either have that gift or you don't. But the ones that have it and the ones that use it correctly, what a phenomenal difference they can make in a child's life, if it's for a short term or a long term. Now, she's got those struggles because this 3-year-old little girl, and she's running up to Stephen and calling him daddy, and Carson saying, "That's not your daddy, that's my daddy." So you're always going to have that, but you just work through all of that. But let me ask you this. Like, when you look at your life as a whole, not just what defines you and drives you, because some of you sat right there and thought, I don't know what defines me and drives me. But if you had to sit down this morning and write a spiritual resume of your relationship with God and things that you have done over ever how many years, what would the resume look like? In other words, your relationship with God, what would it look like? From the day you accepted Him till now, you had to put a resume out there that listed your strengths and your jobs and your background and what you've done. What would be on there? Because if you can trace that through your whole life, that's what it takes to be able to have what a mama and papa has today. Not that they have some messed up kids, that have made bad choices. But as a whole, when you look at it as a whole, everybody has bad experiences in their life. So everybody's going to have those struggles. But are you going to be able to, and am I going to be able to be able to stand there when I'm in my 70s or you're in your 70s to 80, to be able to look back down, not just to my children and grandchildren, but all the way down to my great-grandchildren, and know that the resume that I had with God all of those years contributed to them being the way that they are. Now, I just jotted down some stuff for me. And I've been in church my whole life. There's never been a time that I haven't been in church. That's my mom and my dad. Even when we were children, always in church. I preached for the first time when I was 14 years old. I was teaching in the youth when I was 16 years old. I was in Bible college when I was 18 years old. I did jail ministry from the age of 19 to 27. I did youth and children from the age of 18 to 30, whether it was Awana, whether it was the teenagers, whether it was, I know we used to always go to children's camps during the summer when my older two were younger. I was associate pastor for 4 years. I've made 8 different trips to Jamaica, preaching on the streets, literally from one end of the areas that we went to the other. I've been to the Ukraine, 4 different trips for 2 solid weeks, 14 days, to be able to do the same exact thing. I've been a pastor for 23 years, and I've been in church my whole life. I've given God my first fruits since I was 18 years old, and I have strived to live for God. Now, there have been moments of failure in my life because none of us are perfect. So I've failed and I've fallen, I've gotten scabs and I've been cut up and I've been bruised up. But as I look back over the course of my life, there is a thread that runs through that was etched in there to me from my mom and my dad. And there's a drive there to honor God. I truly want to honor God. I want to live for God. I want that to ultimately define who I am and what I am about. I don't want nobody to have to lie about me and my life or be deceptive in any way. I just want that thread to be so clear from an early age all the way to the end that it is evident to everybody that he might not always got it right, but he truly did love God, and he wanted to live for God, and he wanted to honor God. Choices and decisions don't lie. When you make choices and you make decisions, is going to be evident in your life, and it's going to determine your destiny. Number two, the lion and his life. Not just the lion and his Lord, but now we think about the lion and his life. Now you think about, especially being a man, I've always said that the man in the home with being the spiritual priest is literally God with skin on. If your children call you father and daddy, and you're trying to teach them about a heavenly father and a heavenly dad, then you're God with skin on. They're going to get their perception of God directly from you. So if you're lining it up and that's your identity, and you've been born again and washed in the blood and covered in His grace and surrounded by His love, and you're highly favored and all of that, and you're making those choices, they're going to see God with skin on. They're going to see their Heavenly Father right before their very eyes, and they're going to be able to believe so easily when you talk about how He'll always be there for them. He'll always be there to protect them, to provide for them. He's never selfish. He's always generous. And when they see that in your life, you're God with skin on right before their very eyes. God's man, God's purpose, to be able to shine, to be able to speak, to be able to serve, sacrifice, to be able to share. And your objective and my objective is simply just to be the leader before our children and our grandchildren. Just to be the leader of the pack, just be the Lion King, just be a real man. You don't have to try to be anything that you're not. Just be real. Just be courageous enough and have enough courage and be fearless enough to, even if you feel so insufficient and so inadequate in so many ways, you got enough courage to say, God, I'm going to do everything I can to be successful. A courageous warrior, a champion, a winner, a conquering hero. And the majority of that comes into your life simply by just not quitting. Your children don't expect you to be perfect. They don't. I feel like, Megan's doing better with her mom now. Maybe her mom has lightened up a little bit, and Megan is on CBD oil. And granted, I said on vacation that she is a whole lot, they say that it kind of mellows you a little bit, helps you sleep. And she was more mellow when you're sitting there looking at her all week long, all during the day. But anyway, she's done better. But I feel like the reason why me and her done better early on during this whole process was, as difficult as it was, I just sat her down and was just real with her. Listen, I took responsibility. I basically didn't put blame on her mom. I didn't put blame on anyone else. I took full responsibility for her having to be a child that was going to have a split home, and I just owned it. And I asked her to forgive me. And I did it, because you feel like the first time it didn't stick, so I did it 2 or 3 times just so it would stick with her and she would know. Because I don't care how strong a child is, that is still a difficult period in a child's life to have to adapt to that. It's almost like, especially if she has to go there and she has to hear mom say something about dad and then come back and try to act like she didn't hear what mom said about, that's just a tough spot for a child to be in. It's difficult, and it's not easy for any child, even the ones who have have done it and have a great relationship with their mom and their dad. But she's got a lot of things too that a lot of other kids don't have. I don't argue a whole lot. I have fallen off the cliff one time when I was poked and prodded a little bit, but I don't argue. So me and her mom doesn't have an argumentative relationship. So that helps with the child because I don't ever say anything negative about her mom in front of her. That's just, I just know from wisdom that's just not the thing a parent needs to do. You just don't go there. Wait till the child is not in the room if you have to say something, because that's their mom, that's their dad, and it just puts them in a difficult situation. But the lion in his life, just be real, just be God's man each and every day, God's woman each and every day. And you know, you're just as much God's man and woman when you have to say, I messed up, I failed you, I failed our family. You know, you're just as much one of God's children being a light to your child then as you are when you're on the mountain doing everything right. Because you're going to have those moments. And you're going to have those moments more than you want to have those moments. Number 3, the lion and his love. The lion and his love. Be you, be real, and love them with all of you. Love them. You know I'm a lover like my mama put in me, because when I met Jessie, she was a hard woman to love. Not hard, but she wouldn't receive love because she had so many guards up. So she had been hurt in the past. She'd not had real love ever in her life, even from her first marriage. Even some other different struggles there, and then the loss of her kids. Just had so many barriers there to get through to where it would, but I'm the definition of love. I just love. I love through what I do. I love through what I say. I got the total package. I'm going to be like Trump. I'm going to brag on myself. I got the total package, Pawpaw. I got all you, I got all Mama all wrapped up together. But you know what? All it did was just take time. And you think she was hard to love. Her daughter was harder than her to love because she wouldn't let you love her. But when you sit back and you see what love will do in somebody's life, where you accept them and you just love them for who they are, and you do it day after day after day, all the guards come down and they just embrace it. You know, and I told her, even with her daughter, I think Mackenzie at first was like, yeah, it's my mama. I don't know who you think you are going to take my mama away from me. We couldn't do a date night or nothing. Kenzie going to get mad at us. But now, I told you, I just kept telling her, I said, just give her time. Just give her time. Just give her time. Now she thinks I hung the moon. Just simply because just love. Just love, 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 love. You can never go wrong by loving. You're never going to mess anybody's life up by loving them. It does so good. Just letting people know they're important, they're admired, they're special, and care for them. And I've always been told I'm not a good corrector. I'm just a fun dad. You know, that's why they love you, Dad, because you're fun, Dad. You're fun, Dad. You just do all the fun stuff. I am fun, Dad. I am. But I think I correct, too, just differently. We're all different, but I am fun. I have fun. I have too much fun sometimes. But that's the climate in our home. Jesse just said last night, I just never know what you're going to say. I never know what's going to come out of your mouth. I told her that we walked in a restaurant last night, and she asked us 4 questions coming in the door, and it was all, I was like, what? She said, have you had COVID? Have you been around anybody that has COVID? Like right on down the list, COVID. So we sat down, and she came to take our order. I said, if you don't feel good, stay home. You know, those signs are plastered all over the interstate, so I just like this, you just never know. Anyway, care for them. Y'all have been dead the last 2 weeks, by the way. If y'all come to church next week, will y'all please just wake up? Y'all have just not been alive. It's just not been like, it's just been COVID. COVID still got your tongue. COVID still got you. Just look at John. All you got to know. I said the word COVID 299 times last night. All right, here we go. The dead and his love. Just love. Be their biggest supporters. Cheer them on, root them on. Let them know you're behind them 100%. Love your wife. Love your children. Just let that be the climate. And then the lion and his legacy. The legacy always comes towards the end. You never get legacy in 1 decade. 1 decade's great. 1 decade of faithfulness is great. But legacy is going to happen over the course of your lifetime. And, you know, you're going to leave that mark, and whatever the mission of your life was, whatever the message of your life was, it's going to be etched all over you, and it's going to be etched all over your children. You know, I know not only from a spiritual standpoint, but I know from just being with your parents and watching them, how you can take in stuff and it impacts your life in the future. It's just like, now I'm like doing a little bit of everything in the trade that I do. And I can't tell you how many years I spent watching my dad frame a hole, put a door in, hang sheetrock, plumbing, electrical. I watched. I was there. I was his helper. And I watched. And I didn't never really learn how to do any of it, but I was watching. And now I just be so proud of myself sometimes, because all that stuff I learned watching my dad. And I didn't think I remembered any of it. But I can see myself sometimes, and I even have texted my mama, just tell Pawpaw thank you, because I couldn't do this if it wasn't for him. Because I watched and I learned stuff that I didn't even know I was learning. But I learned it. And, you know, until you put your hands in there and do stuff, you're never really going to learn how to do it yourself. You can watch an instructional video, but eventually you got to put your hands in there and do it. And, you know, sometimes you might put your hands in there for God, and just like in a trade, you might mess something up. But guess what? I tell Jessie all the time when she's painting something or doing something, I said, honey, you can't mess it up. We can fix it. We can turn it around. You can't mess it. You can't mess it up. So just put your hands in there and go for it. Just go all in, all the way for God. Because you know what you are? You are power and your influence in the life of your children and your grandchildren that is going to impact them in ways that you can't even imagine at this very moment. Let's stand and bow our heads.